Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and now we are on Venus Day, Venus Hour, so we can honor Venus. And the moon is applying to conjunct Pluto. Venus is on the 22nd degree of Scorpio, very intense degree, and Mars is in Cancer, 20 degrees. So it's a very intense Venus and deeply transformational. And this is the phase of Scorpio where there is an internal battle, but sometimes you're not sure if the battle is internal, there's actually a battle outside, or it's an internal battle where outside is not necessarily a conflict. Okay, there can be also a sense of nostalgia, and it's an excellent phase to turn to cold cases, because nostalgic cases. Okay, and if 22 degree is naturally the degree of murder, but I'm not talking about murder this time. Actually, although it's Venus, so something might come up. The moon is planned to conjunct Pluto, and as it does, it sextiles Neptune and trines Uranus. So right now, the moon is trining Uranus, and this is very overwhelming, very powerful bisextile forming, and the moon is tapping into the bisextile. So I wanted to be recording that as I'm going through this myself, okay, because we are going through this with the moon and the energies of the bisextile. You know that I have been looking, I think I'm the first astrologer that looked openly mic on to the bisextile. People may have been looking in the books or stuff like that, but nobody's been recording anything. I think at least a couple of months or a year after I tapped into the bisextile energy. And it is so because Neptune is going to be close to my ascendant, okay? And it's going to be in between my ascendant and on the Aries side, my Lilith. So my true Lilith, age 13. So this is an important point for me. And the Uranus is going to go and conjunct Senna, but also conjunct my Chiron. So this is very powerful. I feel it already. Definitely the bisextile has been already involved in everything that's happening, and thoughts about like house, home, housing, motherland, drug cartels, real estate cartels, governments, okay, so upbringing, it's so many things, and it's not thoughts, okay, it's just crisis, but also the fourth house is a grave, okay, and the graveyard, death, end of life, and so on. So as the moon is applying to Pluto, there is a deep emotional transformation, but it is overwhelming. It is the moon conjunct Pluto is hates moon, okay? Moon is where we feel safe, and Pluto is transforming something, so you really feel the transforming of like the womb, the fertility, the upbringing, the home, the emotional state, the psychological state, your eyesight. They can be deep, profound, psychological truths, psychological authenticity can arise, but you understand it's not a fluffy placement because Pluto is transforming something. Moon is already traveling fast, so it needs to absorb. Okay, so basically moon is needing to absorb safety, while Pluto is coming to transform that which it goes through. And so we're transforming the way in which we seek to absorb safety from our surroundings when the moon is crossing Pluto. If you have a hates moon, that might be profound, okay, like that might be something you either already know or you feel more profoundly right now with this transit. But as we're going through this, and that can absolutely be transforming into like our death, okay, there is the trine to Uranus, and Uranus and suicide has such affinity. Uranus is the one you cannot scare with trying to, like, if you say, I'm going to abuse you so much, you're going to want to wish for your death. It's like, okay, so kill me now. Okay. Like, okay, fine, no resistance. Or alternatively, when you think, this person, we got them with this, with that, Uranus is like, no, if I want to suicide, I will suicide. You not murder me, I will murder you the way you want to murder me. And then maybe I'll suicide, but okay. You threaten my life, I'll rebel. Because this is Uranus, it's the silly walk. It's the unusual eureka. It's just as the moon is kind of like, if you thought the moon could be like more unsafe, the Uranus is like, okay, let's just go even more unsafe and then be safe there. But this is a trine, so the moon is actually jolly with that. The moon is actually like, you know what? Let's do something. You think about people asking for assisted suicide because of poverty. Or I think one of the good moon aspects that we had, I was pondering if men that are threatening to women want to be murdered because they're like, hurt people, so maybe they want to be murdered, and this is the thing. Okay. And I was pondering out loud. So that's one way to deal with someone. Of when I said, well, I never killed any person, but if somebody threatens my life, then I'm pretty good at what I do. I just need to try a couple of times. This is the moon Uranus. I think Venus 22 is playing here too, because she sextiles the moon. But moon Uranus as this eureka, sudden, rebellious, unusual solution. And in a trine, yes, this is the trine. This is the trine. This is the trine between Pluto, death, transformation, and Uranus, sudden movement, sudden shock, sudden release, okay? And a sudden release of baggage as well, okay? If before the moon Uranus, there was this heaviness, then suddenly Uranus brings in something light, something that scatters the energy. And then there is Neptune. And Neptune is very fascinating because Neptune is surrender, but Neptune is also miraculous healing. A miraculous energy comes to assist you. A miraculous, when I was in Netherlands, it was very difficult because every day I thought I was going to die, but I was receiving such miraculous healing at the time because Neptune was on my ascendant. So I was basically escaping. I was the Sinoir of the stage, but I ran into so many figures, like so much gaslighting, so many figures, like so many people try to capture you, and so on, and you're like a fish in the sea, okay, but you're like, but why am I even alive? Like okay, fine, it's not, but why am I even alive? There's just so much. Why do I say the Sinoir? Because Sinoir escaped a lot of assassination attempts. But then if the party says, okay, but why am I alive? Okay? And then Uranus is like rebelling. If I want to die, I will kill myself. Or you give me assisted suicide, so I die with dignity. And the conjoining of now the bisextile is very, very fascinating because there is this deep transformation of Pluto, the Uranian rebellious streak, and the understanding that as much as the giant agenda of the world tries to account for Uranus and tries to control the revolution, to make, we will make our revolution. It's like, yeah, but it's still Uranus. Like, it will still go unexpected. You throw in chaos. Chaos is doing what you threw it in to do. Chaos, okay? It's throwing what you threw it in to do. It's going to be chaotic, okay? Yes, and I think I talked about, okay, for attempts when I was tortured, so to attempts to make me like astral espionage or something like this, and I'm like, well, I don't. Let's do charts, Not really. And I'm like, some energies you encounter you, and so it's like, that's just healing coming from there. Okay, like just really stuff where you're not expecting, or people try to put you through suffering, or they think you're gonna deeply suffer, and you're like, okay, fine. Or alternatively, people thinking they're gonna push you to corner, and if what you can do is like, fuck it. Okay, it's like, but where are you going to live? I don't know, I'm gonna die, I don't know. Like, okay, fine. And the more they try, this is, and the basic style is like, the more they try to control you, the more you break free. That's literally what the basic style means. The more you try to control something, Uranus has this thing about it, the more you try to control, the more the other person breaks free. Okay, my landlord tried to control me. It was, I think, 6 months ago. Okay, I didn't respond. I was like, I'll deal with it somewhere. And then I was treating my teeth. And then, well, just one sudden day, I blew everything up. But it's not like I'm leaving the apartment. The apartment is very good. It's just like, why should I pay rent when you ask me if I sleep with my mama? Okay? So, like, let's make it clear. He was trying to maybe think he's setting the prenup to extort, like, sexual stuff from me because he wanted to either, like, raise the rent or that I will pay him in that way. And I'm like, I like the house. You pay the rent. I don't do stuff. I don't. Well, for me, will and consent is something that I can blow entire world. Oh, but there were margins to the A-bombs. So blow another A-bomb until there are no margins, because people are marginalized, they're suffering very terribly, as you made me suffer. So let's kill all, including the margins. But you'll die, okay. More humane than what you do to people, then it's Miro. This is exactly what it means. So, or people think, oh, they're gonna try to take your money, gonna try to this, gonna try to that, gonna try to that. Okay, what? Have you ever stabbed an apotropos? It's got these people. Let's say if you stab them, they're gonna be less prone to take these jobs because it's basically theft. Okay, person gets out of violence. They say, yeah, we will give you outcaring, we'll give you support, but not that you spend it so somebody else is owning the money. Yes, if that someone gets murdered, because it's your life, because basically it's a kidnapping. Okay, if they take from you the ability to escape, okay, the ability to escape, the ability to pay for housing, the ability to pay for food, is kidnapping. So you're allowed to kill them. You're also allowed to kill them legally. You're allowed to break free. Okay, it's like here, and it's like, that's one of the possibilities. This actually could, and the more somebody tries to control, Uranus goes poof. But it also goes internally. Okay, it also goes internally. It means that the more I would try to say, no, I won't say anything, I will look for apartments, like, but I've already been homeless for 6 months before I found this apartment. But why? I just want to Netflix and chill. Why would I go look for apartments right now? And what, every time I will look for it, they will all try to do that. So let's just blow the whole thing up. Okay? It's internal. So you have to understand this Uranus operates in a way where it's not only outside where you can control, you cannot oppress even yourself. This is what Uranus does. First of all, just Uranus does that. Uranus-Pluto is, there is a deep transformation that you are supposed to go through. And when the moon comes in, it's an emotional, it's also housing, it's caring, caretaking, and so on, children, or mothering, and so on. Then you go through a deep emotional transformation, and Uranus is like, well, when you go through deep emotional transformation, there's the temptation to try to control things that are not in your control. And Uranus is like, fuck it. And it rebels any attempt to oppress. So if you are oppressing for yourself, you will rebel yourself. Or some other thing will not allow you to rebel yourself. Something will just not allow you to rebel yourself. Okay, so for me, when I found out I need to eat good food and so on, treat my teeth, and I can't afford to try another oil and another oil to calm my nervous system, where it's obvious when I treat my teeth that what comes up is for the macler asking me if I sleep with my mama. So I got to tend to that. So let him pay for what the damage he caused. Okay? Because he did this to extort me with housing. Now let's blow up his whole business if it needed to be. I'm not gonna be unsafe, okay? This is how Pluto and Uranus operate. It is an unusual form of power. There can also be unusual attempts to oppress people. Okay, if you think about trying to oppress a person and say, oh, now that you try to make it like, oh, you did not pay rent because you went into debt, because you managed your finances not good. And I'm like, no, I was investing in my teeth and not in my offender. But then, there is always, just like with healing, okay, there is a food, there is communication, there is a mindset, yes, but if you disrespect my boundaries, as in medicine, there is the knife. C'est tout, okay? I'm allowed to defend my life. Okay, this is what just Uranus Pluto can do. And again, it's not set, it's not fixed, it's not set in stone. You can change, there's just many options. But these options got a respect for me and my sovereignty. This is what Uranus comes to do. Liberate you. Oh my God, you didn't pay rent. Well, they're gonna have a digital coin. You saw Noah Kirel with us, like Israeli bank, a digital coin. So they're gonna do this to everybody. I deal with that. I delve into that headstrong. Even before they try to do this to everybody, by the time they do this to everybody, I already dealt with that. It's what happened when I was homeless before COVID, during COVID. Because when the war came, I said, I already know what they're going to do. And I already know what they're going to do to the children. It's the 1100 they did it in Netherlands. I already know. If people want to hear about this and be informed, okay. They don't want to hear about this and be informed. Other people want to hear about this and be informed. Okay, so assist of those who could use your information, you assist them at this time. But if they're gonna take all our rights, the social credit score, the this, the that, like I'm the human trafficker, he's the human trafficker. So why not pay the rent right now? Why do I have to worry penny to penny? Save penny to penny. Oh, it's not gonna be money. So why not deal with it right now? Let you pay for what you cost. It's gonna be very costly to put a barrier between me and my well-being. I'm allowed to defend myself. If I'm criminal, okay, I deserve dignity as every criminal. Every criminal, also in jail, you deserve human rights, you deserve a dignity. But we know that in Norwegian, people, even when committed murder, they come back and they live their life. They do something they love with their life, and when they have dignity, then none of them, they don't return to murder even. So we understand that you cannot use not hospital, not a jail, not a psychiatry, because for schizophrenia, open dialogue and housing first. But then there's another form, and that's the Neptune. We surrender things, and suddenly I get memories, for example, if it's moon housing. Oh, I remember when there was war, and one sudden day, my roommate left the door unlocked, and she was such a responsible person. And I got scared, and then a couple of months I couldn't sleep in the apartment. Nothing, okay? It's not even the war. Nobody intruded my space. Nobody harassed me. Nothing. Even when I was in Netherlands, okay? The first for the shelter, we were 3 people in the bed, all snoring in the bedroom, okay? All snoring. 3 women. Nobody harassed anybody. Nobody this, nobody that. People, nice personnel, okay? My dignity was taken away from me because I ran into human trafficking. I skipped that and I spoke up, and I was denied my rights, which I do deserve, okay? But even then, they tried to help me to say go to immigration. But still, that situation. The problem was not that they didn't have shelter or didn't have food. No, 3 people in the room snoring. That could have happened on a vacation. Of course, in such situation, it's way more disturbing because you're already stressed. So I remember that as well. There is the housing first, the thing that I advocate, and then there is, yeah, so I remembered I need a home alone. And then I remember, oh, I used to live with a roommate that she was not really at home all that much, but one day she forgot the door, okay, unlocked, and a couple of months I couldn't go to the apartment for no reason. I was just having fear in the afternoon. That's it. I until today I don't know why. Okay, so you can say I can do all the activism in the world, and then there are things, and this is Neptune, where you just surrender. Neptune has its ways. Neptune is about surrendering. You just surrender the topic. There is taking your power back with unusual ways sometimes, and then there are, yes, the things that you defend yourself, and then the things you just surrender. Okay, you can be in a house, everything okay, then something happens, and for some reason you cannot explain, you get a scare, and it's like a trauma, but it's not even something substantial. Nobody died, nobody this, nobody that. It's just, I couldn't explain. I had to sleep with friends when I had an apartment, okay? And not only that, I was volunteering, so apartment was paid for by my volunteering. So this is something where you just surrender. This is Neptune. And so the bisextile is going to bring in this energy where no matter how much they try to control for the chess game, because this is basically trying to do chess game and bring in reset to this, no matter how many, what they inject into it, they can't really control, because people even can't control for themselves. And whatever gaslighting they bring, they don't know what people will do. They don't know what they don't know what leaders will do. And I can tell you, because for people that tried to use Vama energy for I don't know what causes, right? Unexpected things happen. Like suddenly I would get, help or assistance, or people wanting to talk about expandable children, or people not expecting even for me to understand. It's like, oh, but that's to both are the expandable children, right? Okay, the satanic rituals is everyone. And but sometimes difficulties to understand it. It was like, but why do you understand it with this person, not with me? And I was like, well, I didn't want to assume that you were violated, but you assumed everyone else. But no, there was a testimony. But why did you think? It was like, yes, I didn't know that. Now that I know that. I was like, but you did know that. Yes, but I didn't want to assume. and for some time, but you're dead. So and that's just a part of the unusualness. People cannot really oppress themselves. You get a lot of authenticity coming out, a lot of vulnerability, because you're just yourself. If you've been repressing yourself, you won't be able to do that, especially not when Neptune is going to be with Aries and Saturn. So on the one hand, there's like restriction on the identity, all these many things that they're going to try to do, but they're going to be these like really unusual ways in which, first of all, that could work out for you, or they try to oppress you and that's actually worked in your favor. There can also be agreements where you wouldn't expect there to be agreements. So if I think about, let's say, my passport, my Dutch passport, okay, I have to renew it, then there were all kinds of trickery so that I would lose my nationality, and I just say I surrendered it. And now the conditions are completely different, because a different government, and they tend to exactly the fact that people like me were not housed, while people that had other nationalities were housed. And so I don't know. Okay, like I don't know what will happen, but it's kind of like, hey, that's very interesting, and also for to see that some people that were refugees, they were treated well. Okay, just have to go if you not abuse it, because if you join, Muslim Brotherhood of Satan, this is a problem. But also, what were the options with the 1100? Is very, they used bureaucracy in a way that's just bad for people. And now we have the conversation about like the deportation, and have mothers with children, and I just think, well, it's better for them to go maybe to Morocco or somewhere than to be kidnapped in Netherlands for satanic ritual abuse, and the leaders know it, but they can't tell you that they are survivors too, and they had to perpetrate to survive. So that's the thing. So this is the vibe. Okay, it's a vibe that's very intense. When the moon is next to Pluto, the intensity comes from this Plutonian heaviness. You want a place where it's a safe place to be, and Pluto is like you've encountered transformation. And moon is like, what safety is there? What nourishment is me to absorb? And Pluto's like, let's be authentic. Okay. And the moon is like, how is that going to get me food? Because Pluto like, it's gonna get you psychological safety and self-actualization, and Moon's like, but will I have food? Will I have a house? And Pluto's like, well, we're gonna have to see what is a house for you. What do you call food? I remember when I was in academia, and I was addicted to coffee because I did not have enough money to buy actual nourishing food, but I didn't know it. And social workers, they kept blaming me, and they had also problem with food, maybe malabsorption, but the doctors didn't find anything. So they were hungry, and they were just blaming me that I buy coffee because like, anyway, I don't have money for food. So apparently I was suffering malnourishment, and I had to eat correct food for me. So I had to look for which correct food I can find, and then only then I found that I actually don't have the money to buy this food, because everybody been telling me that I've been spending too much on food, and I'm like, that's just so fucking weird. I need that food to study. Okay, and then I was given, of course, some vitamins. You understand? So it's not like I wouldn't need necessarily tending to it, but it's like, hey, if you really don't have access for food and nourishment, and if your food is, if you're living in the United States, then you're kind of like not really having food. You're having a lot on the plate, but it's not necessarily nourishing. That's why people are fat. But even when not fat, they have problems with those who menstruate with menstruation. They only go outside and they see that. So what is food? Okay, that's the type of Plutonian thingy. Actually, back then Uranus was going to my second house, and Pluto was, I think, squaring my second. Yes, so the end of Pluto squaring my second house. Going to my third. And then when the moon Neptune, I think I tackled the moon Neptune. It's kind of like this deep longing, and then there is this eureka of unusual solutions to that longing, or usual miraculous meeting of those needs, but also deep transformation of grief, where Pluto assists in that, but it's not as heavy as the conjunction to Pluto. It's grief heavy, but it's different type of heavy. Okay, and then the moon Uranus is, of course, when Uranus can be very shocking and offensive, because this is where you ask for your mama for a cup of water, and she's like, oh, I'm sick of it, I cannot serve anybody right now, I just go take water, and you can't get out of bed. Okay. This is a real example. Okay, that's the moon Uranus conjunction. That's what it can do, but it can also bring the eureka of like how to solve it. It's a hard aspect between nourishment, where you need something to be predictable and consistent, and the planet that just comes to liberate you from patterns of dependability on something to be consistent. That's why Uranus is not doing so well in Taurus. It's not because it's not doing so well in Taurus. It's because we are not doing so well when Uranus is doing great job in Taurus. Okay, it's moving the soil around. Like, I didn't imagine I'm gonna move the soil around and then I'm gonna like have all these mishaps, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what about my, like, what's gonna be now? But that's a part of the spirit of the bisextile. So would I do a talisman with the moon conjunct in Pluto? No. I think I would capture this with either the moon Neptune or the moon Uranus, and then to trine, to capture the sextile, to capture the trine. And then when the moon is next to Neptune, capture the trine, the sextile to Pluto. But right now I'm not attempting to like make a moon sextile Neptune or to capture. Well, Neptune is they're all retrograde right now, but let's say they weren't. I wouldn't attempt that when the moon is next to Pluto. I think so. So that's a haze moon. Okay, some people might not think like me, and it might work for them. So you can tell me your impression. But the fact that the honey I bought for the bisextile was dripping on my cell phone and on the bag that I needed to replace when I had the breakdown, okay, with the makler and that with the real estate, I was like, oh my god. So it's deep transformation that's required of us, and also with moon, the little haze moon that we have, and the moon in the bisextile, it's not a Bermuda Triangle because you're transformed. You're not just going missing, but you're transformed. I hope. Then people talk about like quantum leap or quantum healing or stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Things are not gonna stay as before. It's kind of like you're redirected to another life story. And we're gonna be continuing throughout the 2020s. We're gonna be continuing with the bisextile. It's gonna be perfect in 2026, but it's going to accompany us at least 2029. So this is the end of the 2020s, and that's the vibe of the energy. So this is a Friday. Venus is on the 22nd degree. And there are just many things arriving. Okay? Many things arriving from that. And she's ruling Uranus. So definitely if you think about the use of murder stories, because this is very much stories, it's not necessarily taking action, to do with housing, women taking charge, the hunted becomes the hunter, all kinds of stuff like that, just unusual tales, but also unusual solutions to cold cases, all those things. It just like they're appropriate. Okay, that's just something you want to be aware of, like car accidents that are explosive, or like car bombings. Oh, the Azrieli, that supposed terror attack that was stopped, like the supposed avoided 9/11. They were coming to Azrieli, 5 people with the car, and they were thinking to bomb the car. And I'm like, if you should have seen Azrieli building, it's like it's not for a car. You're gonna need more ammunition. So, but it would cause a lot of damage because there's a lot of people there. And that was Thursday. It was Jupiter's day actually. So think about Jupiter, Twin Towers, the signs of the twins, Mercury, Libra, Venus in Scorpio, Mars in the sign of housing, the moon in the sign of skyscrapers, Saturn Saturn in the sign of Pisces. They had to surrender it, and it didn't happen. But I'm like, okay, they were trying to go to 9/11 on it. I think they were not, but they were definitely trying to do harm, and it was stopped. So, fortunately, else. That's also stuff that can be, let's just put it that way. Venus is opposing Uranus this week, okay? She's sextile in Pluto. Now think about Venus from the 22nd degree sextile in Pluto. It's like, oh, this is where a woman can remind people that if she's kidnapped, she is allowed to kill everybody on the way out. If this is kidnapping, and if it's done with financial or with this or with that, she's allowed to do this, okay? Or with medical or whatnot, she's allowed to do this. She's also trying in Neptune, so the use of storytelling, the use of various realities, okay? There's your reality, my reality. If my reality is not valid, why your reality is more valid than my reality? Okay, there's no reason for this to be so. Okay, so you could be imagining, okay, the same way. And Neptune is also drugs. Okay, so if you force drugs on people, the people say yes, it's because of the drugs. That's the easiest way to get away with murder. It's because of the drugs. So if you want to imprison people in hospitals, then it's easier for them to get away with murdering you because it's because of the drugs, especially if you force them to take that as they go out, okay? This is where Venus takes the power by reminding herself that, hey, I could get away with murder the same way you can, okay? But she's opposing Uranus, and Uranus is like, can we Netflix and chill? Venus is like, yeah, but I need money. You just said you are tending to what happens when you're not gonna have money. And we have some dark coffee here that we can make with what we have. Uranus is like, okay, I'll come down from my own tree. I'll just want to make sure that nobody can threaten my life. Uranus is like, well, today nobody is trying to. But now that you send all these murder warnings to everybody, that might be an issue. So when you finish done with all these scenarios, could you come down here? We can have a cup of coffee. And that can be what the opposition to Uranus is like. Hey, weren't we rebelling the world and say we're going to rest? There's a world war. We're not going to fight. Okay, we're going to make peace because everybody's at war now. And Venus like, yeah, okay. Or alternatively doing something else. But this is where you are going to have it all the time. Because if it's not conjunction, it's going to be a harmonious aspect to one of the two or the two of the bisextile, but then a hard aspect to the third. And what did I tell you a couple of years ago, actually now? You remember the joke, the meme of it's always you tree? That is... that is going to be so freaking relevant, because it for until at least 2030 it's going to be it's always you tree, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So expect that to be skies that has a lot of conflict. Just because these three agree with each other, everything has to disagree with at least one of them. And it's like, how, but you're also going to have, how come you two agree? How come you two agree? What have you two to agree? What have you three to agree about? How come you three are on the same team? It's like, well, there is a bisextile right now. We agree on that. And also prepare for the times where it wouldn't necessarily be so. So if you are, let's say, entering relationship, don't go overly committed, because that can be something that can hold for the revolution. But after that, you know, Uranus is going to go its way, and then Uranus is out of the bunch. And and he's going to conjunct Saturn first. It's like everybody's going to say, well, Uranus, why did you leave us? Okay, he's just moved on. He's coming to rebel, transform, shake up, release, and go. Okay? But you're going to be a different person after that. And you're going to say, even though I really needed to break free from that. Okay? Think about when you're out with toxic relationship, like your makler asks if you sleep with your mother. You say, even though I really needed to break free from that contract, right? Not necessarily from the house, but definitely from that person. Okay? Or anybody affiliated with that. Like, I can keep the house, but that no. Okay? So that is something to remember. So you're not going to always agree on everything with the people you agree with now, and it's important to maintain as such that your sovereignty is respected, because basically Uranus, I think a lot of the bisextile is Uranus reminding us that for divorce to be good, we have to live as though we are already divorced. You understand? Because if we live as though we are already separated, then I had seen a tarot reader that she was talking about business, and she said if you're married to a partner, it's better to open business together than to have a joint account, because the business you can dissolve easier than marriage. Financially, this is good financial advice. This is good fiscal advice with Uranus, Pluto, Neptune. Yeah, this, hey, you weren't thinking about this trick, you weren't thinking about that trick. And Uranus is going to adjust us so that we can have more sovereign life. But if people forget that, they might think that we will always get along. Why don't we all the communas, think about the kibbutz. Okay, I think at least to 2 people that went through such torture that they were sex trafficked and sex workers, and took them years to recover and constantly life threatened, and they were going to electrocution and kind of like expendable children projects in the kibbutz. Everybody talks about the religious, nobody talks about the kibbutz, the moshav, but particularly the kibbutz. Okay? All the children sleeping in one room, all it takes is one pedo. And I remember electrocutions. So, like, as I'm speaking to you now, it's like, damn, they were expendable children. Damn. They were wanting to use them for, like, it's like, oh, I don't want to trigger my friends, but now I really have to talk to them. And they would find it difficult, like, in a conversation. They would have this fight where suddenly, if it's not intentional, they would start, like, to gaslight you. It's like, you understand they're not doing that on purpose. It's just like they're having, the like the trauma stuff. So that was like, oh, what people call in narcissists was satanic ritual abuse. I'm like, very likely. For many people, not saying everything, but for many people it was. And then it's like, oh, you the free people feel you feel the aftershocks, so you're not within the earthquake. And that's why they explode so much, because they need the right to exit violence, but they are oppressing people because they are being put there to enslave people. But you still have to defend your life and take your sovereignty and so on. So don't be fooled to think that we will always just get along and let's just build a kibbutz, a kommuna, a this, a that. That's falling into that sort of reset. But then, for some of us, for a time, we might even feel happy in such kommuna or desire to have community. And so there are going to be attempts to restrict sovereignty, and we might even get sovereignty, and then we're like, okay, I got my housing, I got my this, I got my that. What about community? What about people to talk to in a way that still respects my sovereignty? Now we have a chance to work on these 3, where we can balance certain settings. But as Uranus is the first to leave after Saturn, okay, to leave the threesome, the balance is shaken. Okay, I remember we lived in one apartment, 3 roommates, and one roommate was always balancing the 2. Then one moved out. It became impossible to live in the apartment. And so we both felt it, and she thought she was studying psychology. She was like, okay, I want a man, not woman. I want a man to balance with 2 women. We need a man to balance these hormones. I said she studied psychology. I didn't say, that's what I said, pros and cons. But we got a Dutch man, and he had a girlfriend, and he wanted to fix the house. He left everything in its own weird place and wanted to recruit everybody to fix the house. And we're students, and we don't have time for this. We're not taking Concerta or amphetamines like he does, at least not to that amount. You could cause him a heart attack, but okay. And none of us could get along, and then eventually he moved in with his girlfriend. And I tell my roommate, you said you wanted a man. You got a woman in a man. Now this is funny when you think about the hermaphrodites, but it's not a so that was so funny, but he had the good salty candies that they bring from Netherlands, which reminded me of my fatherland. But that was it was like, hey, if you're not coming to Netherlands is moving in with you. But eventually they moved in with their girlfriend, so it was best for everybody that way. But this was really, really funny. And you have to remember this, because as Uranus moves out, it's going to be after the 2030s, as Uranus moves out, the new balance is shaken. So both the people that did the reset and are applying the reset, and the people that are applying their own reset, the balance is shaken off. And I think for some of us, it's going to feel like, hey, we made such a tremendous job to arrange all the components together, and then we go off balance. It's going to be like that as well. But also, you will get it as anything with Uranus, even though we're grateful for the experience, or we studied something, we definitely needed to break out of the old order. Okay? Is it going to be like the 2013, what they want to apply and what it is? Well, we already disturbed the order quite some. Like really, we already disturbed a lot of the plans quite some. And for some of it is even our leaders. Like, you're really going to live in a bunker in Albania. You know? Or freeze yourself like Disney. Like, you're really going to, it's like, if they're actually going to do that, it's like, well, is there another option? Okay? So a lot of people, even when they face like, oppression, it's like somebody backs off. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to slaughter you. Like, oh, we thought we were going to get you to do this, to do that, to do that. I'm like, okay? And it's like, oh, you're really going to do it. Do you want to try? I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I don't know if I'm not going to do it either. Okay? Then people can back off. Like, my God. Okay? And I'm just thinking, when I'm thinking about my makler, I'm thinking about the people who try to set him up to think that he's setting me up. Because by this time, they already experienced with me. They knew they're not setting me up. Okay? They knew they're not setting me up, that's for sure. They want the estate, they don't want me. If they give me a better house or a better place, or a place I'm happier, then I'm happy. Okay? But by this time, it's like a part of them is looking, it's like, now you get to deal with her. She doesn't back off. She backs off, she falls forward, and she gets the boot upstairs. She doesn't back off. Okay? So that is, or if she backs off, you better beware, because this is a tsunami. Remember, when the ocean, it backs off the land. It seems a little bit unreasonable to you, Like when I just signed the contract and didn't say anything, I just moved on. I asked you, maybe you have a flat also for my mother. She may be looking for a bigger place. Then, what's up? Tsunami. Okay? So, and this is something that, again, you have to remember. Especially people think we're not going to talk, they're not going to talk, they're not going to talk, they're not going to talk. Think about like my psychologist, it's like he is betrayed my trust as a patient and threatened my life and psychically attacked me. Let somebody else do it. Like maybe some patient he did even worse with, and she's going to be like doing something about that. Like I'm a veteran, just got out of me too. Let's just let it slide. Is checking which children are to be taken from the mothers or not, and he was sued for that once. So somebody's doing something about that. Not sure like what's happened with the children, but that is something to do with 7th October. And that was associated with satanic ritual abuse cults, the secret societies, and the new order thingy, like the people that betrayed the state. And that's why that guy told me to say his name. Just say his name. I look at Mark Rutte chart, his 12th house, Leo. Israel has Mars, Saturn, Pluto there. Benjamin Netanyahu calls him Mark Rutte. So we get informed to say, oh, our prime minister called Mark Rutte. Okay? So we had Wilders coming up and say, Wilders, you gotta wear a t-shirt for saying, Bibi called Mark Rutte, not me, before 7th October. Okay? But then I see Israel is at the 12th house of Rutte. So, who is owing who? Israel, Netherlands, or Netherlands, Israel? What's going on? Okay? And that's the kind of stuff, like, you cannot even oppress yourself. You cannot even oppress yourself. You can control yourself, but you cannot oppress yourself. If you try, you're gonna say, fuck it. Okay? And this is a part of what it is. So this is why I do not predict a great success to the people that thought they're going to implement the plan and enslave humanity and because if what they succeed, it will work in a way that can benefit people. What they don't succeed, people won't even be able to, oppress themselves. But also for sometimes there's things or restriction. This is where the Saturn Neptune is going to be funny, because it's going to sextile Pluto and it's going to sextile Uranus. So you think about the type of restriction that actually are not negating your sovereignty, or restriction on sovereignty that's actually not negating your liberation in some way. Okay? So hopefully it won't be like, hey, you can get away with murder if they force you to take psychiatric drugs or inject that to people. That's from the pills. That's the medicine you prescribe. Okay? Or debt or stuff like that. So there's something about that, even with this trying to enslave people, that even the process tends to liberate itself from slavery. It's just so. And Uranus is going from the sign of like the body, the throat, the voice, to the sign of the nervous system. So people are going to be neurodivergent like Gen Zers. I've been really loving on some Gen Zers, because Gen Zers, they act at the job the way I normally act. I have Uranus in Sag and they have Pluto Sag. And Uranus in Sag and in the 10th house is just doing what Pluto Sagittarius do, what the Gen Zers are doing to the workplace, okay? Except that they are many and I was one. Okay? So I was one and they are many. So they're doing what I couldn't do all across the board because I was one person. Not every person had Uranus in Sag in the 10th house, but every person that had Pluto, the sign of wealth accumulation, in the sign of Jupiter, Sagittarius, expected a big expansion. And if the work doesn't allow for it, then they're going to be their own boss. Okay, it's not going to work forever. Like, they're going to be bossy about this. It's not going to work for you. So with Uranus Gemini, we're definitely like, people are just not going to be able to listen to you. Not able to listen to you. It's not that they don't want to, or they disrespect you. And you think about these children and their elders. But I say they're stuck in the screens, that. Okay, they remove the screen. What they hear, indoctrination of the parents. So they can't listen to that. Then Uranus liberates the nervous system. So they try to restrict your sovereignty, but only if it works with the nervous system. There's going to be something unusual about this. Okay? Yeah. So think about the subprime 2008. Okay, the subprime crisis. So many people, you would go to mental crisis, you get the pill. You get the pill, it costs you to spend money. Do you remember that the manic boom, the manic depressive boom? Okay, they gave you a pill for depression. Doctor asked you, really, doctor asked, I was one of the, what doctor asked me, you like more like the depression, the problem is more the depression, or for when you feel very, very elated? I said, of course, depression. It gives you something that's anti for depression, and then you make boom shopping. Some of this was reasonable because I said, I gotta take care of my face, I'm gonna get a better job, and so on. And then it's like, after the pills, it's no problem about this. I just did not have enough money for food, so I try to do something with my money that's useful. So I got addicted to coffee or something like that. But it's like because I did not have money for the food. And I know that when I know what is the food that's nourishing for me, oh, I don't have money to buy it because I'm a student. Oh, okay. Fine. So that's actually reasonable. That's actually reasonable. When you sit with people who's supposed to help you for your, for your bills and to make the calculation and so on and so forth, and they're like, you don't have problem with your spending, you have problem with your income. And I'm like, I was thinking the same thing as you did. And it wasn't even a stunt. It was like, this is something I'm not seeing here. No, you're pretty well. The world is rugged. So that was the thing. But the thing is that there was that supposed restriction upon your identity, okay, for that giving you are cuckoo, is basically allowed for you, because then they respected the fact that the pills that they gave you caused you to make these spendings. Yes, that's the issue. Okay. And even if for these spendings you did something that could improve for your job, right? And then you find out that you are post-traumatic for all the things that happen you at work and even before work. So you say, I'm going to try and treat that. Oh, but they were planning to traumatize people. So your psychologist was MK Ultra. Okay? And this is the stories. This is a key to unlock the stories of many people, because many people went through similar journeys to different levels of intensity. Okay, I had a friend that was suing her university and the offender, and then she found out that the same woman that told her, come on, sue the offender, then betrayed her because she just wanted the money. He stole some money for his prostitutes, yes? And human trafficking. It's not prostitutes because it's a cult. And so she wanted the money. So she said, my girlfriend, friend, come, sue the person. And the woman was threatened 3 years by the cult. And so she sues. 8 years she's silenced. Then she can tell the name of University Haifa, and so on. And for then she finds out that the woman who convinced her, she was helping the kidnapped children of a woman that was in another cult, a Haredi cult, a Gur Hasidic cult, and children was taken to satanic ritual abuse. The woman was raped. She said, I don't want to be raped. She got out and she wanted to take children. They were with her for a year. Then they were taken back for the father that was hurting also the children. It was hurting her and the children. So that's why she left to begin with. So Haredi Jewish, okay? And that woman was a psychologist or something like that. She sent the woman to 7 times to psychiatrist. In her case, the psychiatrist said, no, she's not fucked up. She's okay. That's the case. And now, oh my God, this is deeper. But the same fund that was Wagner fund, but all the judges, all the commanders in the army, in the IDF, the top rank, not the smaller rank. Smaller rank is just like army because mandatory army recruitments. You're gonna have that in NATO. You're gonna have that in US, everywhere. But the top rank for how they elected for these secret societies, okay? That's Sefer October. So that woman that betrayed her, she was for the Sefer October. And when I tell my friend, well, you know, your father had picture with Rabin, so many of your father's friends from army could be with the Freemason. She says, I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay. I won't tag you anymore. Okay? And so that's a lot of the processes that just Pluto has been doing in Capricorn in the last, almost 2 decades. And Pluto is going to be culminating that and then entering Aquarius, which is just a continuation of Capricorn in a way that has more leverage. So both the people that try to do weird shit have more leverage, and the people that try to resist that weird shit have more leverage. This is the time where people apply the social contracts, okay? The social contracts philosophy. This was a time where like everybody did weird shit and people had way more leverage to do that. But now with the sextile, every action motivated to control will have unusual results. So authenticity is going to be achieved by these unusual turns of events. Okay? If you naturally are inclined to flexibility and you're like, yesterday you were like, no, you're gonna pay the rent here, but it was like, you know what, we don't like to keep the house and so on and so forth. Why won't you take the house with all that entails? I'm like, okay. Okay, like that's fine. It's like and like leave me to that. I don't have business with you. You don't have business with me. Leave me to that. I'm like, yeah, okay. But what about the neighbors? What about the daughters? That's another thing. But if you're flexible for solutions, okay, it's like okay, but it's not like I know how to run them, for that. And then for somebody want to take that with the apothropy for that was like, yeah, I need a management. It's like, oh, why won't I hire you private? If you tell your person who's supposed to be a patropos, okay, why won't I hire you private? Because anyway, for this money, for that you want, I can pay you private. And then for this money, okay, for I can pay you private, you make sure for the management for the estate. So you're not dependent on them for income. And you have a job, maybe you can do it with a couple of estates, and then we get a couple of people that don't have housing to have housing, because this is the cure for mental breakdown, especially after financial, crisis that you get because the stability is taken from you. It's another, if you have to be flexible, because solutions come in, there's more and more, and people are gonna like, that's so weird. It is. But so is people not being housed. They do weird shit, right? It's like, yeah, we thought it's gonna do weird shit, like, you know, strippers and that. And I was like, yeah, but you have to have willing consent. Then maybe you can do stripping, but you have to have willing consent. If you don't have willing consent, how can you do something? How can you be like connected with my sensuality, with this, if there's all these restrictions? That if not for these restrictions, maybe you wouldn't have to pay for sex. Huh? So that is, often people want control. Okay, free man is not oppress another. Why you're not free? And then you can find out for what is impending, okay, on this freedom. If I went to Me Too, if I went head to head against for the person that was mistreating me, I would be missing a lot of things, because he was veteran. He knew about 7th October, maybe planned it, maybe not. And he went through MK Ultra. So it's not just he was perpetuated, he went through MK Ultra. Obviously, he had the same feelings about psychiatry as I do. So, and a veteran also physically. So any psychiatric treatment will cause his heart to kaboom. Okay, and they would prescribe. That's the thing. Okay, we had diabetes in the family, and it didn't stop them. So he knew that was for the very weird, okay, settings. That's the thing. But if I would go head to head like this, then what would I achieve with that? Let's say he would, I don't know, he would say, I don't want this, he would unalive himself. Not trial, not anything, okay? It's a cult. So why not tend to the problem, which is expandable children? Now we've got something. Okay, now we got something that we can tend to. So that was just the square of Urano-Aries conjunction, square Pluto, okay? Now we have the B sextile. So the back and forth between the three planets, the outer planets, can be harmonious, but there's always going to be conflict with something. Nothing's going to be perfect, and not only that, which is unfortunately opportune time for World War, that conflict was not always reconcilable. Okay? For example, people say, oh, we don't like these Haredi Jews, we don't like, what do we want? Well, we want to have a strip club, we want to have a red light district in here, there's going to be a revolution, a positive, like that's just why people escape to religion, because you're both not doing willing consent. Okay, and you can't compromise that. Like, you will slaughter for that, you will blow an A-bomb for that, you will do that for that. It's like, hey, we weren't expecting this. Okay, so it's like, it's always you three. Why can't you agree on something? Well, I guess this is a natural cause where there's naturally people knowing people are not going to agree, and they're like, everybody's going to fight with everybody, and then some people think, oh, I just care about the money. Like my makler. What is the money? I only want to hear about the money. I just want to hear about the money. And just look at how it's like alcohol. Alcohol is like, well, when the value of people is lower than value of money, money has no value. Okay? Because he knows when I'm gone, he gets the house flippers that I kicked off for almost 3 years. Okay? In Hebrew, we have a show where there was a supermarket, and there were really annoying customers. So one customer was really, really annoying, and everybody knew him. And then one person made a deal that he will move to buy in the opposite supermarket. And that's what happened. The next day, just like him, 50 clients entered the shops as annoying as him. So what one cashier said, his name was Amnon, he said, Ha'amnonim mitrabim, okay, the Amnons are multiplying. So what's a person like me that kicks all the Amnons out is out, the Amnons are multiplying. I know, because I'll gold the fucking property. I defended the fucking property in spirit and in matter for 3 years, okay? I know, but you would have asked me, I would have told you. Okay, I would have told you for what I kicked out of this property. You would have asked me. But you're living in La La Land thinking is everything okay with this property, and so many people vying for the attention for this property, you probably need to kick at least one person out to get a bigger rent or to do sex trafficking for the money. And for when I rented, he said the most important me is peace. Don't want to hear about maintenance, don't want anything, just peace. You get fair price, just peace. I said, okay, I need peace as well. He didn't even see me. But what I've been to, he doesn't know. Why would I go to? It's a good property. I say, anywhere you have to kick people out. Not people in the house, not tenants. People that want to kick you out. Okay? If I have to defend this, I have to defend it, at least to be in a good place. And also, I was homeless for 6 months. I had no, not gonna look for another apartment. No. So now you make it this big deal. Poof. It's just those things. Everybody's agreeing about everything. The three big ones. Like we got it done, we got it done. For 50 years they're working on it. Because you know it's gonna be the big sextile. Okay? But nobody agrees about anything. Because when you have an opposition or you have a square, that and it's something Venusian, it's values. People for values. And when Neptune, Saturn is going to be in Aries, people are going to people are going to lose their head over it, completely lose it. But on the other hand, people are going to suddenly agree to things that they were like, oh, now when I think about this, when Uranus is going Gemini, Jupiter Gemini has been the closest. Now it's retrograde. So Jupiter Gemini, that's been the place where you're like, I'm gonna go move out of the city. Well, you're living in the biggest territorial city in your country. It's just not built yet. Okay? Come see who these people here were. Just like, come, move out. I was like, yeah, but where to? Just you go and you see for these, it's kind of like the Jews are coming. These Jews, they're all Orthodox and I'm completely secular. Okay? And the synagogue is a pyramid. It's like, that's, like, pay attention to that. It's like, oh, I can't do that, okay? So it's not like things did not happen before the macular thing, but when something gets, shaken, at first you're like, you're angry. And then like everybody has different motivations around that, but everybody knows that anyway you need to break free from the previous setting. This is what the Uranus does in the equation. To think that you can come to agreement about what is the solution, very difficult. There's always going to be some conflict that disturbs the peace. And you say, okay, I'm just going to say with what conflict I'm okay. They're going to keep coming up because the fast-moving planets in the couple of years, they're going to keep bringing up stuff. So there is the planned stuff. Now we do pandemic, now we do peace agreement and pandemic, now we do pandemic and war, now we do Milton Friedman. Milton Hurricane. Okay? Now we do this, now we do that, and then there are different reactions. Because now it's like these separate experiments, now they're applying it all together. And I'm like, I'm almost excited to see what's going to happen, how people are going to respond. Just like at first, just like the reset, you have to be, let's all wear white and do Christ consciousness meditation, raise our vibrations and so on. What people responding to that. It's like, what's going to be? What's it going to do? Like exactly, because it's actually exciting. What's it going to do? Okay? And so, and people exposed to stuff, people looking for stuff, and suddenly there were places where you were like, if I wanted to go to the headquarters of this, headquarters of that office, there would be no way I could get this person in this rank now. For most of them, because they are having a show. So you can put your comment and everybody reads that. Like if I need to set appointment at the embassy, I much rather write a post on Twitter. Like really, it's they're gonna read us. Like, hey, if they're not gonna respond in email, just bomb their Twitter or something. They can't do, like, they can't legally block you if they're public servants. Okay, so there's going to be really, now I think it's less the problem when Uranus is going to go Gemini. This is social media, and then people not going to have access to certain social media, or to this internet or to that internet, and they're going to do other weird shit. Okay, they're going to, you know, walk in the streets, they're going to paint on the walls, they're going, like, it's going to be interesting. What people gonna do? And Uranus is just the liberator, so people are also not allowed to oppress themselves. So it's like, what are they gonna do? When I think about what they did in Israel during COVID, they got all the reports that they got for the fine, and they litigated. Everybody litigated, filed litigation. So we flooded them with bureaucracy. This was Uranus square Saturn, okay? We flooded them with bureaucracy, and eventually they had to cancel for the fines. This is where people adjust to power of the people, okay? Before 7th October, when everybody were evacuated to 5-star hotels in Dead Sea, I had social workers telling me, well, I don't have 5-star hotel when I did not have safe housing. Or safe place to stay, okay? Safe place to sleep. Just to put it very simply. Couple of months later, they had to house everybody in 5-star hotels. But so much so that people didn't like it anymore. And people that have been working all the day, working. But the change in the currency. With Uranus and the changes of the currency and everything, I saw this happening, but also with electricity, at least 5 years ago. Because everybody was talking about savings and this, and I said, people, can't you see what they're going to do? Can't you? And Uranus wasn't even in Taurus, and then when Uranus ingressed into Taurus, it was like, can't you see? It's not going to be internet, it's not going to be currency, like they're going to change for it's not going to be currency. You think about it, when they're going to do the digital currency, it's just when the internet is going to drop. Not before, okay? Not before. Think about when they did the digital fingerprint stuff. Well, this is where we had the war in Palestine, and then many people, unfortunately, were amputated with their limbs. This is Sedna. Sedna in Gemini. She rules our limbs, hands, and so on and so forth, okay? So, that's about that unusualness of it. And it looks like an engineering problem. By 23rd, you think you refine the product, you have a big reset, you launch that big reset, then Uranus leaves, and it's like, well, we're not satisfied with the result. And it's going to be not just what they try to apply, but also what we try to apply. We have to remember it's only good for the time being. So we're not going to make too much commitment. Yet Saturn, Neptune is setting the tone for another at least 28 years. Because we're starting a new cycle of at least 28 years. So you fix and you fix and you fix and you fix and you fix, and then just life happens. And that is this is the spirit of the skies, okay? And people try to enslave humanity or do this or do that. Nature saw that, like, they dropped the fucking A-bomb, and the cults that did it tried to cancel sexual polarity, and then they drop an A-bomb and increased sexual polarity, because at first they dropped it in the desert, and then they dropped it in the ocean, and then there was Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then there was Chernobyl, and Chernobyl is a lush forest with extinct species that some of them used to procreate without sexual polarity. Now they have sexual polarity. what was the problem with the cults that threw the bomb? They were creating hermaphrodite for to have androchrome or androgynous people, so to cancel sexual polarity so that they can control the people because to the sexuality. Jaguar Wright had a wonderful episode where she mentioned the MK Ultra. Finally, Jag. Okay, when she mentioned the MK Ultra, and she said, "I cannot go politics because otherwise they would kidnap me and say for everybody, threaten them not to speak." And that she did, for the Beyonce episode, she did like the triangle. You have to understand, when you see such people, just like when you saw me doing the two gender and so on, there are all kinds of attempts to control the narrative. Okay, but we speak because that's just life. And also there is adaptability from people that try to implement the reset, and adaptability is just a part of the progress. Okay, it's kind of like what you bargain for. And so they try to make people not have too much energy to fight, but if people don't have too much energy to fight, they also don't have too much energy not only to work but to comply. Because when you're so exhausted, what happens? You reach threshold, and in the threshold you break free. So either you die or you break free in another way. And then you say, well, if you said now, hurt people, perhaps it's humane for me to slaughter all of these people that oppress me, not for revenge, because they are hurt. And so maybe life is gift. So, it's those type of things. And the old tools that they used to use to manipulate humanity and so on, not gonna be this useful anymore. Okay, for you meet person, come to oppress you, come to this, come to that. It's kind of like, why won't you have some coffee? Okay, or even 7th October, people literally showing us how the Israeli security soldier that arrived at the place where his parents were, and they were supposed terrorists or Nochba. What's Nochba? I don't know. And I don't know if it's like a nickname that the Israeli soldiers call it. It's like, I really don't know what it means. Okay, so it's like, and coming for to kidnap his parents, it's like everybody knows it's either was stage or stage, and the guys tell them, the mother offered them coffee and this and that, and the guy tells them, like, you don't want balagan. They said, no, we don't want balagan. We don't want a mess. Okay, so remember, if you say to people, you don't want balagan, you can say in Hebrew, balagan. Okay, you say you don't want balagan, don't want a mess. So somebody comes for you, you say you don't want balagan, they will understand, believe me. So that is the thing. And as Israelis, we got used to that. We got used to, like, somebody try to oppress you, you say you make balagan, you turn the tables around, and you genuinely do. Okay, so and when try to oppress over this over that, okay, you stand for your rights. But then sometimes that cause adjusting. So some people try to recruit you for that. Hey, what can you do? Hey, what this and what that and what that, okay? But nature corrects for itself. That's the thing. So we're going to have a lot of situations, and they're going to have this sudden, okay, if I take a look at the talisman I did of the Uranus Beta per se, a lot of people are like, oh, let's try to get at this, to get at that. I'm like, it's not in my, I can only set intentions I want to set, and let go. But if you try to do for control, let's try to grab the Uranus talisman. I'm like that's very okay, I'm like you're inviting weird shit upon yourself. I don't know, like, really. But then if there's something in me that needs to be liberated to, not depend so much on this financial system or that and so on, then that can be also, okay, the case, or not always to be threatened or threatening, okay? This could be like also, and there's another way, there's another approach, there's another thing, there's another option, Um, and with the p sextile, they're going to be, but it's always going to be something. And because at first Venus is involved, then Mars is involved, and it's going to be about identity, then there's always going to be something people cannot compromise about. This is why they launched World War at this time, because people genuinely can't agree. Everybody agrees that they want, let's say, peace because of this, peace because of that, peace because of that. And let's say they want peace, okay? But they can't agree on the terms, because it's about the identity. And people think, okay, so I will give up this. And then if it's genuinely something you're supposed to not hold on to, you might. But if it is something that, hey, it's actually important, you won't. Or say, okay, you want to call me this. For example, if I think about myself, I'm not the type of person who would, naturally, I'm not the type of person who would sue someone for defamation. I'm like, the fuck I care what you think. The fuck I care what people think about me, you know? But if it comes to the situation of like, you know, it's my housing, then I'm like, fuck all of y'all. Fuck all of y'all, MK Ultra. Okay? I don't care. It's like, it's not what it is, what it that, what it that. If this exposes that you said the things, not behind my back, behind my this, like, fuck all of that. Whatever you said, I still need to be housed, I still need to be this, I still need to be that. Like, everything you try to do, okay? And I'm like, yeah, but live and let live, you know? I always said, live and let live. If you come with control to me, I'm not like, I'm nuking that shit. And you might, because nuke is also involved. This is Pluto. So that is something where people think, oh, they're going to be very aggressive, and then we're going to take control of it and take it, and then like the laws change because somebody else is doing something, or like the person's like, oh, we couldn't get that person to do this, to do that. It was like, oh, and then they found an opportunity there, and it's like, oh, I didn't know I have this opportunity. Let's try this. So I'm not saying that they're not going to be weird shit, but the weird shit is also the planetary skies. And if you know your chart and if you know the transits, then you can see it as that rather than play into the screenplays that they put out there without them even being able to oppress themselves. So you want to take that into account. Because if people have been way too oppressive towards themselves, they want to be able to do that. My Michael, for example, I think he's sick of working. I think he needs a vacation. 10 years ago. I think he won't live in that house. Really? I think he need to let go. He want a vacation. That's what's up. Okay? The guy needs a vacation. That's what's up. I'm like, okay, you need vacation, fine. Okay, so you want, but he can't say it to himself because he keeps saying, you gotta work hard, you gotta this, you gotta that, you gotta show off that you work hard, and so on and so forth. It's like you're breaking down. He had back pain, he had lower back pain. He needed cedarwood oil, had lower back pain. 2 years ago, needed vacation. Now I also needed vacation. I was homeless for 6 months. The guy needs a vacation. So he does stupid things, okay? Because essentially, if I'm not saying it's going to end up in jail, I'm not here to litigate to put anybody in jail, although it's freaking human trafficking to do that, you know? But psychologically, it can simply be the guy needs a vacation. That's how he got recruited. You're going to live on an island, you're going to this, you're going to that. You're going to have a time off, or you're going to be with this person, you got to this, you got to that. Like, you blew up your inner peace. But because the old order was not working, but this order also not working. Okay? But also for me, this MK Ultra stuff not working. It's not working. Okay? Gotta live good. And so, that's the time where we tap into, when anything aspects the bisextile, this is where, especially the moon, because the moon is bringing in the energy, we get more and more insight, more and more information. Or this is why they have a world war, because people genuinely won't be able to agree. The outer planets agree, and the outer planets are not people. They're conditions. There is a joint forces of that which is Neptunian, that which is Plutonian, that which is Uranian, as forces of the cosmos. Okay? And there are the things that, okay, negate that. So, but also things that harmonize with that. So this is interesting skies. It's very rare skies, I think, since the, not 1500, I think 1300s, something like that. There wasn't such skies, such bisextile. And of course, there are going to be dramatic changes of religion. People think, okay, we're going to have one world religion because of this bisextile. Okay. Maybe if it is very accommodating of diversity. To put it very slightly, because nobody's going to agree with that religion. Everybody's going to have another argument with that religion. Okay? And then it's a dynamic balance. Sometimes going to agree with one part, then with another not, then with another this, then with another that. Okay, I was joking with myself yesterday that when we tend to the cave, so where the satanic ritual abuse is, all the Orthodox people that don't go to the army, a lot of them do go to the army, but a lot of them don't go to the army because of agreement they had with Ben Gurion. They didn't like the Israeli country, okay? They weren't supportive of Israel. They're not Israelis, in essence, okay? They were forced to be Israelis. Some of them, a lot of them, they do, they serve the army, they this, they that, and so on. But in the beginning, they didn't do it. They had to have permit to move, permit for medicine, permit, they did medical welfare on them. This is why you still have the Rambam medicine, which is holistic medicine. Okay, so you don't like satanic ritual abuse, but you absolutely like something that supports you against the WHO. Okay, but then I was joking about the fact that those who are doing these satanic rituals, they're going to be flocking to Lebanon. Okay, and I was just thinking, this is one interesting side effect. Or we could suddenly have, if we did something like this and people, civilians, okay, armed civilians would go for under every emergency center for children, hospital, police station, bank, Rabobank if it's Netherlands, for sure, Rabobank's branches, a parliament, a Tweede Kamer. Yeah, bring it on, come on. Under every such thing, okay, there are caves with children in it. So if people did that, if we just looked at it, we did a flashlight to that, not only will we save a lot of children, but all the kidnapped from the war, they bring them home with the cancer yellow thingy. I had my parent ask me, I don't know where do they buy this. I'm like, you don't want to be marked with these people. Now everybody hates them. You don't want to be marked with them. You have enough troubles already. People think you like this, you like that. You're not the same color, the same whatever. It's just so, okay. That's just so. So, but it's true. That's true. Okay? And so this is this is a good way to bring all the kidnapped from the war, all the bibasim and all that. It's like, because they're gonna have to distract us, so at least they're gonna try. So we're gonna let them bring all these people. Because if you tackle the problem where the problem is, then sometimes it's a problem. You have to go on the periphery of the problem. Then you solve another problem, and then it's like a vacuum. Because where would they return if they don't have housing, independent of ability to work? I said what I said. Okay, where are they going to return to? There's no vacuum that draws them in. They just go to hospitals when they're claustrophobics. That means they cannot, if they were locked, they cannot be locked anymore. Then they put them in locked places at hospitals. On the other hand, they are homeless. I read a testimony of a homeless person in Israel. He said, I wish I was kidnapped because then somebody would care to release me. Now, so nobody cares. Okay? And so, even though it was a woman that assisted him with some food and stuff like that, he says, like, nobody cares. And I was like, wow. It's just human stories. Like, really, if you're a veteran, people see you in the street, they're like, oh, maybe I can fix you with a job, fix you with that. Like, but if you can't work, you're like, oh, you're a bum. And then like, bring them home. To be treated like that? How many of them want actually to have assisted death? It's a question. All of this Uranus is also suicide, assisted death, death with dignity, but also sudden death because of revolution, electrocution, and stuff like that. Would planes go missing? Some. But you gotta ask that with Neptune. Okay? What was it Jack was talking about? Like, you can take every person's face and you can make them say anything you want with AI. Okay? But this is very cool. Think about when you said this is social media, and like, that was AI. But on the other hand, when you want to deliver a message, it's like, oh, it's probably AI. What can I do? It's just life. You have to work with what is. And yeah, see you in another video. Bye-bye.